I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends.
Hey, welcome back, champions. What's going on? Our names are John Kovach Jr. and Willie Blake here on the Champion Reads podcast, where we share our opinions, thoughts, takeaways, and some really cool principles that you could maybe use to change your life from best-selling books and some of the cream of the crop of the best books out there. And I want to continue to just do as much of my talents give in bringing this book justice, because this is one of the classics, like one of the best books out there. And right now we're reviewing an incredible book called Boom, How to Win Friends and Influence People by the Dale Carnegie. And why this book in particular is kind of a big deal to me. It's so near and dear to my heart, but I'll tell you a couple quick reasons, and then Willie and I are going to jump in here and dive into this book just a little bit more and talk about some cool things. Number one is I am in the publishing industry, as well as a motivational speaker and a global mastermind coach and so forth, yada, yada, yada. And I approached William Blake here, and also our dear friend Ian Sturmer, who's currently on an airplane. He could not make it today. We said there were no excuses, so we're really disappointed, Ian, that you're not here, that you couldn't figure out how to figure out Wi-Fi on the air, up in the air on an airplane. So, that's on you, buddy. No, just kidding.
He has such a clear signal. He's up in the air. There's no buildings or trees around. Just
arguably, he's closer to the satellites than we are. Okay, can't make it. Anyways, I approached these two individuals a few years ago, and I said, hey, want to become #1 best-selling authors. I know that's a really hard pitch to say no to, because it was a great deal, but I value your both expertise, knowledge, and experience, but also the direction and goals you have in life. And we approached you about writing in a book called The Book of Influence, based on how to win friends and influence people. Or you could even go as far to say as it's based on the overarching work that Dale Carnegie contributed to this world. And both Willie and Ian accepted. They're in this book. Let me hold up just a copy right now. This is one of 4 volumes. It's called The Book of Influence, and this is volume 3 on creating alignment, which we're going to dive into a little bit today. But I want to highlight these 2 individuals because they are experts. They are incredible professionals who have really great stories and really great things to share with the world. And I want to highlight that enough, because it is a positive synergy between how to win friends and influence people and the influence factor of all the things that we're doing. So all that being said, I kind of wanted to intro that a little bit deeper than I did the last 2 episodes of this book, because this is a good book. It is a classic. There's a reason why most companies start with this one. Most people use this in college to teach their students how to build relationships. And you know what? The more and more we drift into this world of AI and social media and online communities, the more I think the world needs how to win friends and influence people, because I think we've lost touch. I think we're losing. I think it's a constant decline of how we genuinely connect with people. And so that is why we are talking about some really cool principles today on creating alignment and so much more. And I know I've got a bunch of notes in the show, but let me ask you, Willie, before we just dive into our content, having become a best-selling author and writing on a principle that, you've got so many great ideas and so many great things to teach and share the world.
Stop it. Stop
But
it.
this was one of your first books. And, everyone hoped that their first book would be something that they were, inspired to write based on the life work of their accomplishments. But instead, you had an opportunity to jump the gun, get into the authorship world faster, and write on some things that you were truly experiencing, growing with, and becoming like great at, as were I. And I wanted to ask you, like, what was that experience like becoming an author while you were learning the principles you were writing about? That's pretty cool, I think.
Agreed. I think it's pretty cool too. And it was an experience in itself. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted two things. One was to be a teacher, but I didn't want to go the traditional teaching route. The second was to be an author. So I had my first draft of my own book that I've been working on for like the past 6 years now, that I'm just like, eventually it's going to get out there. Eventually, when I get it good enough, I'm going to publish it and it's going to be great. Then John came to me and says, Hey, Willie, do you want to become a best-selling author? And I'm like, ooh, tell me more. And funny enough, I don't know if we were on the phone call or if we were like doing our Marcos back and forth. Either way, it was like a surreal thing because I've always wanted to be an author. So I remember getting on the calls, writing the chapters, and submitting them, getting emails back saying, your chapter has been submitted. And I'm like, ooh, this is so good. I don't have to do much now. I can literally just sit back and promote it once it happens. First book comes out. And I remember getting the physical copy in my hand. I remember cracking open the the little, what do you call them, packages. I'm thinking of like an Amazon package, but it wasn't like that. It was like opening the package, opening it. The package was like a book, opening it like a book, pulled the book out, and I'm like, oh, and I turned and smacked the very last author on the page in the book had my smug freaking face on it. And it had the wonderful sticker of #1 best-selling author. And, oh man, it was just surreal. It was just surreal that one of my dreams I had ever since I was a kid happened, like actually occurred. And not just once, but like if you look, those who are watching on video, if you look behind me 11 times, and there you go, there's that smug face. A little bit chunkier in the cheeks, but hey, we're losing weight and we're doing great with it. But like 11-time Amazon bestselling author, co-author with some amazing individuals, and to be able to say to myself that I am a bestselling author is such an amazing thing. And now that I got those down, I'm closer than ever for getting my own book out, my own manifesto that I'm putting out. And it's just like, it was such a cool experience to write something that I cared about, because my chapters were all about communication and listening and like the real in-depth of how to become a master in that. And all in all, just a surreal experience.
I love that. I love that so much. And it continues. Like once you start, you can't stop. And I love everything about writing as much as I do reading. It's just such a powerful way to connect with the inner thoughts that are almost indescribable, but luckily with a pen and paper or fingers and a typing and a keyboard, we can create things like words and sentences and worlds and stories out of thin air. And it's powerful and beautiful. So all that being said, I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you. And I wanted to highlight you, and I wanted to highlight Ian, but excuses. I'm just kidding.
In an airplane where there's closer to the satellites. Anyway, we don't need to dwell on that because we got something we're talking about today, don't we, John?
Oh, yeah. And I shouldn't continue without mentioning this podcast is brought to you by Champion Circle, where professionals all over the world are connecting to develop through accountability systems and achieve their goals as fast as possible. And we're excited about that. So wanted to share that. But yeah, this is great. A couple things. Number one is we have so much we could cover, and that's why I love doing these episodes. Right now, we're kind of in the third section of how to win friends and influence people. And it's all about creating alignment In his book, he calls it how to win people to your way of thinking, which is another way of saying creating alignment, because alignment could be a two-way street. It could be, all right, you need to understand what I'm saying, but maybe I also need to understand what you're saying. And it gets into some pretty interesting things. Like, for example, I'll start with the negative so that we can end on the positive. But the negative for me is, look, have you ever, quote unquote, won an argument? I think for all the men out there who have spouses or significant others, I don't think we've actually ever truly win, like a boxing match. Like, you've actually won an argument, because as soon as you win it, there's that feeling of, oh no, being right wasn't worth it, right? It wasn't worth it in the end. And so there's this concept in the world of connecting and relationships that you can't win an argument. It's not even worth it. And one of the main principles here is the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it altogether. And some of you are like, your hearts are twisting right now listening to that, because I get it. I love being right next to the next person. Like, I love that. And it's not that I love being right and other people wrong. It's just, I love correctness. I love having a direction. And also, when you know stuff, when you know something, it's so hard to withhold. That's a true measurement of success. So to all the spouses out there, give yourself a big pat on the back if you've ever just not argued. we acknowledge you. We see you. But at the same time, not to put that sort of light on us. I think it's an interesting principle, but yet applicable, because look, sometimes winning an argument is how you lose a friend, or is how you lose trust. And that is the slipperiest slope to losing influence with other people. In fact, if you want to turn that upside down and on its head, a principle I like to consider is, even when someone's wrong, you could say something like, oh, wow, I would really love to see that play out. I would love to walk down that path with you. That way you show them that you're willing to go down with them, that you're excited to learn their side of things, and that you trust them. Because even if they are wrong, it's so much better to lose together than to have won over somebody who you're working in relationships with. And I know I'm talking kind of vague, but like, I think you can imagine, really just like sipping the cough syrup here and realizing, hey, I truly can try to see what people are saying from their perspective, and I would love to go down that path with them. And that's a powerful tool in understanding people, as well as building those relationships. Because I'll say one more example, and I'll pass it to you, Willie, is one of the reasons why, and I always talk about sand volleyball. Okay, I play sand volleyball a lot. And one of the things I love about sand volleyball is, no matter whose fault it is, okay, if you messed up or the person across from you messed up, you all the people on your team, you lose the point, okay? So it's not just one person's fault, it's everybody. And so we all have to pick ourselves up from that fault and move on with the next point. And it's a fast-paced game. There's 25 points scored in any game, and you have to play hard and fast, and you got to move on. You can't blame somebody for 1 point, because there's just so much going on. And I love that principle, because look, if it really was a sports analogy, if that person is wrong, or if you're wrong, just pick up and move forward on the next one. And that's a better attitude to have than, hey, I'm going to go down this ship with you. Don't think of it like that. Think of it more as like, okay, let's work on this together and let's move on to the next. Action and movement are the best, I guess, medicine to creating deeper, stronger, and better relationships and winning people through influence than winning an argument.
Yeah. Two things I support what John says. Two things from that. First one being, it takes two people to fight. It takes two people to contend with each other. If just one person's throwing the punches and you're defending, that's not a fight. That's a maniac going crazy. So don't ever call your wife a maniac, for one. But two, diffuse. Like, a conversation isn't a fight. You can argue. There's a difference between argument and a fight. And in my experience, argument is we have disagreeing points. We're going to talk it out. A fight is we have disagreeing points, and I'm going to bring up past or present flaws in you to prove a point. So it's when it gets personal, that's when it becomes a fight. And I think that's where a lot of people get trapped in. I don't know how we got to the point where we're giving like relationship advice right now, but we've both been together, married over, I believe, 2 decades now combined. So we know something. We're still married to our spouses, and we have lost many battles, and we have won lost battles because even though we won, we slept on the couch afterwards. So to that point, one, it's just to contend, to fight. It takes 2 people to do that. Let it be an argument. There's no need to bring personal things in. And even if the other person brings personal things in, say, yeah, you're right. Now let's go back to what we were talking about. It's just a nice diffuse thing. Then the second part is there actually is a way. There is a way to win a fight, win an argument, and one that doesn't lead you to be sitting on the couch or sleeping on the couch afterwards. And that is to do exactly what we're talking about, which is to listen to them. Most people, they just want their point to be heard. They've been mulling over it. They might have other family members, friends, or negative comments on social media saying something about something, and it gets your innards going, and you just want to get it out and tell somebody. And because we are with our spouse or our family, and they are literally the person that we see the most, they usually get the brunt of that attack, you could say. So if we just give the person the space to get an emotional breath, give that space for them to simply talk and share what they have, let you be that. Have that tough skin of being like, they're not going after me. They're going after this idea that they're upset about. When you listen to them and get a better understanding, in my experience, a lot of what I need to say doesn't need to be said. And a lot of what I think I need to defend doesn't need to be defended. Because they are saying it, they're just saying it to the anger. You just happen to be the person in front of them. When you realize that, you win. You seek that understanding first, and then after that, they take that deep breath and say, whew, and you ask him, you say, anything else you want to say? Or tell me more. Or what else is going on? Then they might tell you more, or they might say, yeah, I'm finished. Well, then you can say it from your new perspective on what's going on, and either say a few of your points, but say, well, you know what? We're going to do something to make this better. Or you might just give a smile, walk over there, give her a hug, and say, you got this, honey. I'm here to support you. No need to defend. Win-win situation. It is possible. But again, it goes to that first point. It takes 2 people to fight.
It reminds me of my best friend in high school, and I would always cringe when he said this, but we would get in fights and arguments all the time because it was so easy for us to go to his house and hang out after school. And I just got used to it. And like a married couple, we would bicker about whose house we were going to hang out with or hang out at because, he got tired of hanging out at his house all the time. And so he would look at me and he would say the words, John. And it's funny because his name was John too. And I love him, man. I miss him. He would say, John, it takes 2 to tango. Oh, that got me. It got under my skin because it's like, what do you mean? I'm fine. But I understand. So if I were to disagree with Willie, which I don't, but if I were to, there's a part of this process that he outlined so brilliantly that I want to identify. And in the steps from the book, they talk about welcoming Okay, well, first of all, you got to control yourself. Okay. If you have a disagreement and you don't agree with what somebody else says, do not use this word. I disagree. I have used this phrase so much and I regret it because it never goes the way I want it to. When I say those words, it only creates a harsher, more difficult resolution solution. And I am completely honest about that. Like that is total experience. Okay. So, but if I were to disagree with Willie, I would, and this is according to this book right here, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I would welcome the disagreement. Okay. I could be wrong, but I really want to understand it from your perspective. So I could be wrong. Welcome the disagreement and make it okay. Make it normal. Like make it simple. Like, oh, I think I see it differently, but I really want to understand your side of things. Okay. And then the second thing is kind of an internal thing, but it's like distrust your first this instinctive impression. And you could actually communicate this and say, my first reaction was to distrust this, but I want you to actually know, like, I want to understand this from a better perspective. I can learn something here. Wow, man, you will already feel like this person's really taking this conversation seriously. Wow. That now there's gratitude in this disagreement, which wow. Imagine if politicians could learn a thing or two from this book. All right, number 3 is control your temper. Yes. You do not have to have any anger or temperature. Temperature. I just made that word up because this is all about just understanding, right? And being in control. I always think of the Muppets, and I know I asked Willie the other day. I was like, "Hey, have you watched the Muppets?" And he goes, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, what? You've never seen the Muppets?" My jaw hit the ground, guys. If you haven't watched the Muppets, it's great. Okay, anyways, so control your temper. And there's a character in the Muppets, and his name is Animal, and he has anger problems, and he goes to anger management, and he always has to repeat out loud, "In control." So you got to be in control. All right, in control. Moving on. Listen first. Yes, understand starts with listening. Doesn't most communication becomes better communication when you listen first? And then look for areas of agreement. Don't look for wrongs. Don't look for what's wrong here. Why do I disagree? Oh, tit for tat words. I'm going to pick at some of the things you're saying. No, look for areas of agreement. And then it goes on to say, be honest. Now, this is a tricky one. Don't say to be honest or honestly, because now you're exposing the fact that you might have not been honest in the past. So don't say be honest or I'll be honest. Just say I'm really trying to understand this. And then finally, you've got a few more things that just say, like, promise to overthink your opponent's ideas and study them carefully. Thank your opponents. And I hate that they say opponents, but this is a 1937 document. Thank your opponents sincerely for their interest, and then postpone action to give both sides time to think through the problem. If the argument is truly, that intense. But yeah, show respect for the other person's opinions and never, ever, ever say you're wrong. That's a slippery slope to losing friends and impacting your social life, which is the negative side of this book. You might want to unmute.
There you go. Not a mistake for me.
That's okay.
So what I was saying behind the mic that you guys couldn't hear that I'm now going to say now is there's this word called stonewalling. And stonewalling is you simply saying, okay, whatever they say, doesn't matter. You're just like, okay. And you just push it off and you walk away. And not like walking the way of we're not doing this and we'll readdress it at a later time. It's like you share what you want with me and I'm just going to go with it because I've quote unquote given up. That's what stonewalling is. And I fall into that category a lot early on in my marriage. I'm like, oh, happy wife, happy life. I'm going to make sure that I take all the burden in the marriage and in the relationship. That way my wife can feel safe and loved. Of course, it's important for my wife to feel safe and loved. And me having all of that burden sucked to make it feel like whenever something was wrong with my wife or some gossip going on or relationships or whatnot, for me to then be like, yeah, okay, I'll deal with it. And just this layer on layer of loneliness, feeling that it was just me and not communicating with my wife. So then it starts getting more layers. And then a lot of you will probably relate to this. There's that one moment where finally the volcano explodes and you just yell, you get everything out, and it does a lot more damage than if you just would have said something in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't stonewall. Instead, like John said, be honest. You don't need to say like, oh my goodness, I'll be honest about this, because yeah, it indicates that you were either lying before or lying during the previous part of the conversation. But instead saying, I want to understand this. Tell me more about it. Or if you want to share a point that they might have seen, instead of going like, well, I disagree with you, say, you know what? I can see that. Here's something that you might have missed. And then say your part. It's a great CEO type tactic where you say, this is something that you might have missed. And it's a nice diffuser part. So it's a skill, John. It's a skill to be able to, funny enough, we're bringing this into like spousal and relationship type advice more than business and such. But I think it's very needed because it's relatable to a lot of different people, that you can truly win an argument. And you can also be able to leave an argument or a fight in the best terms. But there are things that you need to do. And one of the most important ones is the ability to listen, and then to also not just stonewall and say that, okay, and leave it at that, but be able to share, but be able to let other people understand you too.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more is not a great thing to say, because it means I don't agree less. What I want to say is I love what you just said, and to flip it on its edge, and I want to change the pace a little bit before we kind of close this meeting or this podcast out. Is there's something I wanted to share a little bit on the opposite end of this, but I love that this has gotten into the advice side because it's powerful stuff. And what you just said, Willie, is so important, and it reminded me that gratitude and help are two important. Oh, thumbs up. Gratitude and help are two really key words to help you kind of move past and create alignment in an argument or in understanding people. And here's a good example. Willie, I want to thank you for helping me understand your way of thinking. Wow. Okay. I want to thank you for helping me understand your way of thinking, which acknowledges that I'm either wrong or I see it from your perspective. And two, the thank you, the gratitude brings you both close together and admitting it, but also the help part. People just want to help other people. They just don't know how to do it in the most graceful ways, but acknowledging that you helped me see it, understand it, and come to a determination about it. Oh, that's a line you guys should write down and tattoo it in your brain, because that's a really good opportunity for you to build a lot of great trust and relationships. So I wanted to get to this. In the third volume of our book series, The Book of Influence, which is based off of the work of Dale Carnegie, and it's truly in alignment with what we're doing. I wrote a chapter called The Spirit of Harmony, which is the words of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, and it's all about the mastermind. It's all about the mastermind methodology, and the spirit of harmony is how a mastermind is created. And in a mastermind, you don't all have to be in agreement, but there are strategic, like Willie said, CEO-like ways to get your point across and help people see it from your perspective. And gratitude has a lot to do with it. But I love this because the spirit of harmony is an incredible way of looking at things and saying, I can proceed knowing that we are working together on a solution. That is another great way to look at things. But I took this chapter and I said, what if creating alignment was all about identifying us as humans being creators as well? And creators is a really interesting title because it's majestic, it's all encompassing, it's omnipresent, it's powerful. And as a creator, you're a builder, you're a foundation creator, you're you can break down walls, like Willie was saying, like stonewalling versus breaking down walls. A creator can do a lot of things. And I love that because as humans, we have creating power. And I like to look at that from a perspective of, if I'm in a room full of people and I don't know if I agree with everybody, I can look at this and say, look at all these great creators. I'm grateful to be around people who have incredible ideas. And let's find a solution that works best for us. And Willie, you get this when you come to Champion Circle. You know that the thing we say at the end is, thank you for all the information that's been shared. What do you feel most inspired to take immediate action on? And it allows a person to take accountability and say, based on everything that was shared, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. And it has nothing to do with who gave the best advice, who was right, and who was wrong. It has everything to do with, I'm grateful for what's been given, and here's what I feel inspired to do. And I think that that's a really powerful way to show you how effective your relationships can become when you use influence through the power of creativity and alignment. And I just wanted to kind of drop that little nugget in there because I think that's just a great reminder when it comes to winning friends and influencing people and ourselves.
Agreed. And John, I think that'd be a great way to end it. Like, there's no better way to say it, of how to win friends and influence people. The many things that we've shared. The challenge we would leave you is to pick one. Pick one thing that you can change today. What's that golden nugget that you've taken away? And use that in the conversations that you have today. That way, you're not just trying to make enemies. You're actually not making enemies, but you're making friends. Because like Abraham Lincoln says, the best way to get rid of your enemies is to make them your friends. And with that, wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in it, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll have the link to our podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, continue to be the champions of your lives. Continue to find ways to communicate better. And always remember that admitting that you're wrong is cheaper than sleeping on the couch. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.
You get